Alright everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Here's video with Fat Phil, and to accompany our farming guide for 2023, let's talk about the 10 Zetas you should equip, plus some honorable mentions as you move through the farming guide. I don't know if I said this during the farming guide, so if you're a regular viewer of the channel, you're getting a little bit more, but one of the big things with any guide I create is think of it like a GPS for your car. If you plug in that you're going from point A to point B, it will get you there. But let's say you need to get gas for your car. You either need to reprogram your GPS to allow you to find that gas station, or you're just going to go find a gas station and then have the GPS take you back onto the path you were originally going. And that's the same way that my farming guides work. That even if you detour, eventually you make your way back to it, you can still use it. So let's dive in. Let's talk about these Zetas. I do apologize if I'm talking a little bit quieter, but I have my toddler and infant sleeping in the other room, literally like right over here. My wife is at a wedding tonight. She's working, so it is just me here, so I apologize if I'm a little bit quieter. But let's dive in, guys. So the first Zeta we need to talk about, obviously you know it's coming, Merciless Massacre for Darth Vader. This is the most important Zeta in the game. This takes him from a really good role player in that Emperor Palpatine squad to a solo character in Grand Arena. Just completely transforms him into something that he was not before, and I will forever, like, this is one of my favorite abilities in the game. Darth Vader just is so good. Such an important Zeta, you cannot skip that early. Alright, next to kind of go along with the farming guide, right, Emperor's Trap on Admiral Piett. And this goes hand in hand, right, where they're going to gain the Emperor's Trap. Whenever they begin a turn or attack out a turn, they're going to gain this, right? It's a buff. Let's keep that in mind, right? And the Emperor's Trap is 6% offense and potency per stack. Great. Why is that important? Because under the General Veer's leadership, which is just an Omega, Imperial Trooper allies gain 10% turn meter whenever they gain a buff. So anytime that they're taking a turn, attacking out a turn, they're gaining that Emperor's Trap, which counts as a buff and is juicing their turn meter. Now, the other thing that I'd say that I love the Veer's Zeta, because when you're recovering this protection, you're getting the 100% chance to gain 50% turn meter on a kill. It is so good, right? This is what juices the Imperial Troopers to the level that I think a lot of players right now are missing, in that early on, if you do get this Zeta, it allows you to punch well above your weight, because getting the turn meter train is great, but getting that guaranteed turn meter boost just makes counters so much more effective and consistent. So it's a really good Zeta. Again, these are not in order, right? These are not in any sort of order. I just lump these two together because they go hand in hand. Veers is definitely something you maybe do a little bit later down the line, but it should be one of your early Zetas because it is just so good, and Imperial Troopers are going to be something that you're going to use from the early game all the way to the end game. Emperor Palpatine, we're loving the dark side, and dark side Zetas early are just so good, and for this one, you really want to focus on the leadership. Whenever a debuff on an enemy expires, Empire and Sith allies gain 5% turn meter. I mean, that is just so good. That right there is amazing. Cackling Doom is good, but this additional turn meter gain when debuffs are expiring, to me, sets this team apart. Because there's already good turn meter gain, but if you can juice that just a little bit more, you bump those numbers up, right? Those are rookie numbers in this racket. So you've really got to boost that turn meter, and it does wonders for that team, especially early when debuffs are expiring from different things. All right, Commander Luke Skywalker, it binds all things. Again, I did talk about this, how you can kind of skip his leadership ability, but that it binds all things. This is easily the best Zeta of the three. It's one I recommend you get early. It's just so powerful, right? It's getting a lot of turn meter survivability for Luke. Really turns him into a character that he's already a force to be reckoned with without Zetas. The second you throw Zetas on him, all of a sudden he turns into a one-man wrecking crew. He really can. He really messes up some squads. So it binds all things, definitely needs to be on there for that turn meter gain. Han shot first. Unless you are too young to know that Han shot first, you completely understand that reference. But the shoots first Zeta is just so good that the first time each turn Han uses his basic, he attacks again, dealing 50% less damage. To some people, they're like, oh, I don't need to deal that damage. No. That damage is amazing. That is is so good. This is one of the best, like, pound for pound Zetas in terms of what it does for Han Solo as a character. That it takes him from a character that was okay to a character that is unbelievably good. It's one that, I mean, as soon as I got that Zeta, it's completely transformed Han Solo, and I love it. All right, next we got Bosk for On the Hunt, which is his leadership ability. Again, whenever an enemy suffers a debuff or resists, bounty hunter allies recover 5% health and protection. This is the big way that you keep these guys alive. Whenever they're resisting something or you're landing debuffs, you're gaining health and protection, and that's what keeps those bounty hunters alive. That's your survivability. That's what makes this team so annoying to take out, especially in the early game. It's something that I think, especially because you're going to be using his ship all the time, it's just going to boost Bosk really, really well. And he is the best bounty hunter lead outside of someone like Jabba the Hutt, who's a galactic legend. Bosk is that best leadership all around. He's the most versatile. There are certain situations where you don't want Bosk lead, but majority of the time you're throwing Bosk in that leadership slot. All right, next we have the Queen's Will for Geonosian Brood Alpha, and this is crazy because I normally did not recommend getting these characters early, that they were skippable because there was just other things that you could farm that led you into different things, but with all the changes, I think Geonosians are up there. In Queen's Will, which is summoning the Geonosian Brute who taunts for 1 turn at the start of the encounter. I mean, that's just so powerful that it's giving you a 6-on-5 right away. It's giving you a taunt. It's keeping them away from attacking you. It's a fantastic ability. It's something that I really think without Geonosians will struggle like mightily. In my mind, that's a Zeta that you throw on. As soon as you get it, you throw it on Queen's Will and you move on with your life. It just is that good. All right, Loyal Friend for Chewbacca. I think a lot of people skip Chewie Zetas, but with my guide, I feel a lot of players are going to get Chewbacca a lot earlier, and so you need to be thinking about his Zetas. And for Loyal Friend, whenever he deals damage to an enemy, Chewbacca and all guarded allies recover 3% health and protection. Now, guard, you can't be critically hit and are immune to stun and daze, which is amazing. And then guard is granted to Han Solo, the weakest ally, and Han Solo until Chewbacca is defeated. So, if you're like me and your Commander Luke Skywalker is the weakest member of that team outside of Han Solo, anytime Chewbacca is doing damage, right, they're recovering health and protection. It just adds a huge layer to that team. It makes them so much more difficult to take out. That Loyal Friend Zeta is one that you should not sleep on early because it's going to take that Commander Luke Skywalker team to a level that without it, they really, really do. I don't want to say fall apart because that'd be a bit harsh, but that they struggle and maybe won't be able to punch up or will leave themselves open to getting punched up themselves. All right, the Piett, I kind of talked about this a little bit, the suborbital strike. I mean, this is one that it's for mirrors only, right? And I said that, it's one of these that, like, you could skip it, but really I had to put it on here. It makes both lists, which is funny, but I do this myself all the time. But, like, if you don't rush Executor, you can skip this Zeta. If you rush Executor, you're going to want to get it. It's one of those unfortunate things where it is for mirrors only that you really need that fast Executor. Now, if your whole shard is like 7-star Executors and you have a 4-star Executor and you don't have that Zeta equipped, that's not as big of a deal. But if everybody has the same star Executor, you need that Zeta or else you're going to be the slowest one. So the real reason it's worth it is for that. I mean, this isn't terrible. It's a little too situational for me. So now we move into our honorable mentions. So I have Jedi Knight Revan, Jolee, and Commander Luke Skywalker. For Commander Luke, the honorable mention is Learned Control. This is a fantastic Zeta. It's just the 50, while Luke doesn't have call to action, 50% crit avoidance and 100% tenacity. It is miserable to deal with him when he doesn't have call to action. So my advice for you is equip this when you feel that your team is either getting steamrolled or when you think you need to benefit from something like this. That's what I would be doing because it is a fantastic Zeta. It's just not as good as it binds all things in my personal opinion. Jolee Bindo, I mean, this is a no-brainer, right? That, add revive all. Read that. All defeated Jedi allies with 80% health and crit immunity for 5 turns. That is absurd. If you don't kill Jolee could be the last person alive. He can bring back the rest of his Jedi allies. He has this soft taunt where if you don't target Jolee, you're gonna get destroyed. So you 100% have to get Jolee Zeta. And then Jedi Knight Revan has 3. Right? If you go out here, Jedi Knight Revan has 3. Personally, I think the leadership is probably the strongest one of the bunch, right? I think that's definitely like just way too good. The hero one is really good. I mean, Savior is amazing. I would say that Savior you could kind of hold off on a little bit, but that hero you definitely want to get next. But his leadership is definitely the one you get first. I think that those are the ones that you want to grab as early as you can when you unlock these characters. And again, they make the honorable mention list because I think some players might go Jedi Knight Revan earlier rather than later. That's perfectly fine. Just know these are the Zetas that I would expect you to be equipping if you're going to do that. All right, and then our last 3 honorable mentions. We got Emperor Palpatine, who is already on the list, Darth Vader, who was already on the list, and Mara Jade, who is not. So if we start with Mara Jade, this Infiltrate and Disrupt. If Emperor Palpatine is the leader, he also gains 1.25% turn meter for each debuff inflicted by this ability. So, this ability is going to inflict offense down, shock, and stagger, right? So that's 3 different debuffs. So you're looking at 3.75 additional turn meter, but that'd be on 1 enemy. So all of a sudden you extrapolate that to 5 enemies, and the Emperor is gaining a significant amounts of turn meter outside of his turn. This is such a great Zeta. I love it. I could go on and on, but that's definitely the one that I would get before her Ultimate Predator. All right, for Darth Vader, it's No Escape. No Escape deserves an honorable mention. It adds health and protection recovery to his kit whenever a damage over time expires. He dispels stealth from all enemies, and he's immune to turn meter reduction, which is huge. The fact that you can make sure that he's never going to lose his turn meter is something that you can't put a price on. You really can't. That's just how much value I put on that. And then Emperor Palpatine is the last one. Again, Cackling Doom here. What I love about this Zeta is if you're using him with someone like Mara Jade, who 50% max protection. Whenever he inflicts shock, he gains 5% max protection at the end of the encounter. So if you're running Mara Jade, you're inflicting those tenacity downs. You have Emperor Palpatine taking crazy amounts of turns. Every single time he does that, he's increasing his max protection. And you got to think, okay, he gains 50% at the start. So if he's at 100 protection, he's then going to be at 150. And then he's going to gain 5% max until the end of the encounter. So the first time he's gaining, protection, he's going to get 5% of 150 protection. The next time, he's going to get 5% of that new number because it's stacking, right? And that is just, I've had Palpatine with stupid amounts of protection by the end of a fight, and it is awesome. So those are the Zetas, guys. Hopefully this helps you a little bit more with the guide. Hopefully it gives you some starting paths of what to do. I think it's, again, I'm pretty biased. I think it's a good guide. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it. If you haven't seen it, link in the channel description. As always, I love all you. May the Force be with you, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.